Ha, I win. Better luck next time, Buck.
Oh, come on. I beat you, I swear.
Did not.
Did too.
I think you guys tied.
What, for first?
No, for last.
But how did you get here before we did?
Oh, I was just taking the latest addition to my power suit out for a test drive when I noticed you two racing.
You're telling me you can fly now?
Yes, but that's not all. I can also walk on clouds now with my new hooves built with cloud matter attachments.
Wow, where can I get a suit like that?
It's simple. All you have to do is get into some horrible industrial accident and hope it misses the brain.
Actually, I think I'll pass.
Tony Stark, eat your heart out.
Since we're all here and flying seems to be the theme of the day, what do you say we do a review of Rainbow Falls?
Alright, I like that episode.
I'm alright with it for the most part.
I didn't really like it that much. I didn't hate it though.
Well, isn't this convenient? An even viewpoint on the episode.
So, who should do the synopsis?
Nose goes.
Hey, no fair, I don't even have a nose.
Oh, so you can build a robotic suit with rockets and cloud walking attachments, but you didn't think to include a basic facial feature?
You must have a great poker face.
Okay, fine. So the episode starts off with some nice continuity for the Equestria Games, and Rainbow Dash is training the rest of the Ponyville Relay team, which consists of Fluttershy and Snowflake. Oh wait, both Biceps now. Personally, I don't mind the name change. After all, Snowflake was always just a fandom name, and I wouldn't expect the show to use it. Anyway, it becomes clear after a while that Fluttershy and Bulkflake aren't exactly Olympic material, and they run the risk of not even qualifying for the event.
This is the first thing I really didn't understand. Are Bulk, Biceps and Fluttershy really the best choices for an event at the Equestria Games? Bulk looks more like he's better suited to something like weightlifting, and we saw in Hurricane Fluttershy how weak a flyer Fluttershy is.
The one thing that I'm having a hard time believing in is the fact that Snowflake, Bulk Biceps, can't even get himself a few feet off the ground, even though we saw him fly fast in Hurricane Fluttershy and he was even accepted into the Wonderbolt Academy. I know it's not part of the storyline, but I just can't seem to forget about that one flaw the writer gave this character.
I agree. This breach in continuity absolutely shatters the high level of realism I have come to expect from the Technicolor Pony show.
On a more positive note, the other members of the main six actually do play a decent role in this episode, and it makes sense that they would want to come and cheer on Rainbow and Fluttershy, much like they did in Sonic Rainboom. So this is one time this season when I actually like having all six of them in the episode.
I also love the location they decided to use for the tryouts for the Equestria Games. I mean, we only saw Rainbow Falls at the end of Sleepless in Ponyville, which was Corey Powell's best episode, and plus, there are griffins competing in the Equestria Games. That is just awesome.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if even dragons can compete.
I just wonder if this means we might see Gilda come back, though I am hoping to see Lightning Dust come back instead. Speaking of returning characters, the Wonderbolts are actually competing and representing Cloudsdale in the game, and we actually get to see more of Soren's character in this episode. I actually like Soren in this episode because he plays a laid-back character and is sort of a goofball at times, which actually leads him to injuring his wing and causing Spitfire and Fleetfoot to look for a replacement. And instead of just getting another Wonderbolt to help out, Spitfire sees an opportunity to get Rainbow Dash on the team.
You know, Twilight, if you're so concerned about them qualifying, why don't you join the team? You've got wings now! Fucking use them! Twilight's lack of flying was already a problem this season before this episode, but here it really sticks out like a sore thumb. But I did like how the training montage of Rainbow and the Wonderbolts gave us a good idea of how Rainbow would look as a Wonderbolt, and I like the little quick change she does behind a tree. Not even Clark Kent can change that fast.
Rainbow Dash now has to decide whether to fly with the Wonderbolts and have a chance at qualifying, or stay loyal to her friends and run the risk of not qualifying.
For a while, Rainbow Dash chooses both and attempts to practice with both teams. This scene is my one big problem with the episode. I get that it's important to make the point that the Wonderbolts are awesome and the Ponyville team is underqualified, but the scene makes that point so heavy-handedly and awkwardly, and man does the scene drag on.
Thankfully, this scene ends when Twilight confronts Rainbow Dash and tells her to make a decision.
I really like Twilight's role in this episode. Last time I was on this channel, I complained that Twilight's role in Bats wasn't a very good role. She sided with Applejack right away and pressured Fluttershy into doing something she didn't want to do. Here, however, Twilight just encourages Rainbow Dash to make the right choice, but stresses that, at the end of the day, the choice still lies with Rainbow Dash. I really want to see Twilight take this much more reasonable and mediator sort of role in the future.
I'm not convinced that joining the Ponyville team was the right decision though. This is yet another dilemma the show has set up that I did find really fascinating, as I feel there was no right or wrong answer here. Does she join the team with a realistic chance of winning the gold? or does she help her friends to qualify for the games and greatly reduce her chances of winning the gold? The Equestria Games were a clear parallel of the Olympics, a sporting event that has always revolved around giving elite athletes the proper recognition they deserve, but also giving athletes of every level of ability from all nations the chance to take part. It is about winning, but it's also about the taking part. Rainbow's decision to not make a decision is a testament to how hard the choice this is for her. She's actually willing to sacrifice her chance to compete in the games in order to avoid having to make a choice here and avoid upsetting either team.
So in deciding not to pick either team, Rainbow Dash fakes being injured to weasel her way out of having to make a difficult decision. However, doing this only ensures failure for the Ponyville team, and Rainbow Dash's replacement turns out to be none other than Derpy herself.
Derpy's appearance here is quite a pleasant surprise. I can always appreciate a little bit of fan service, but still, Derpy is more than just fan service here, which is great. The writers had to illustrate the point that Rainbow Dash's replacement was incompetent, which means that Derpy actually fulfills a role in the story. So she doesn't seem out of place to anyone unfamiliar with her, but bronies like us can still enjoy the return of our favorite little cross-eyed mascot.
I was happy to see Derpy come back because she isn't acknowledged as just a background pony, she is actually someone the characters know and interact with. iTunes, you better lay your hands off this time.
When Derpy first appeared, I thought she was going to repeat her "You okay, Rainbow Dash?" line from the last roundup. But no, she doesn't speak this time. But on the plus side, she does have her derp eyes back, and even though she doesn't have any lines, this is probably the largest role she's played in an episode, and her assumed incompetence does seem consistent with what we saw of her in the last roundup. So I agree, Cam, this isn't going to confuse anyone who is unaware of her fan following.
So after some more sage advice from Twilight, the Ponyville team leaves Rainbow Dash alone with Soren, who reveals that he is actually in good shape, and Spitfire lied about him not being able to fly in order to get Rainbow Dash on the Wonderbolts team.
I really don't like this because it unnecessarily vilifies the Wonderbolts. This makes it feel like Rainbow Dash joining the Wonderbolts would be the wrong decision. It ruins the conflict, which I liked earlier for being without a right or wrong choice. How about you have Soren come back with his wing better now, and Spitfire could say something like, "Well, not that we wouldn't have wanted you on the team, Rainbow, but Soren was here from the beginning, so I guess you'll have to fly for Ponyville." That way, the decision is made for her. Also, since when is Spitfire such a jerk who lies to her teammates and goes behind their back to have them replaced? Her turnaround at the end where she admits she shouldn't have lied was way too quick.
I disagree. If the Wonderbolts didn't do something bad, then we're left with an antagonistless and practically conflictless episode, and we need to have this display of exactly what loyalty isn't, because without it, what happens next will become utterly meaningless.
Well, Cam does raise a good point that if the decision is made for Rainbow, then she's no longer displaying her element of loyalty. But I think that is really the problem. To me, this conflict wasn't about Rainbow being loyal or not being loyal. It was about her having to choose between what she can do to give herself the best chance and doing what she can to help her friends.
And what happens next is the weird rainbow shimmer thing that we first saw in Rarity Takes Manhattan. We can see a pretty clear pattern starting to show here. It would seem that each pony will have this happen to them when they realize something relating to their element. For Rarity it was generosity, and for Rainbow Dash it was loyalty.
I said in my review of Rarity Takes Manhattan, the writers better be going somewhere with these ending gags, and lo and behold, they are. And now that I can see what they're getting at, I'm actually really happy with it.
I like the fact that all these weird moments are now starting to make a bit more sense, and it is clear that each of the main six will be getting an episode that focuses on their element, and then at the end they will receive an item that shimmers at the end of the episode. I'm guessing that this will ultimately tie into the keys for the box, but the bigger thing I'm wondering now is if the characters that give them the items might become important. So far we have Coco Pamel and Spitfire. Are they both in on some bigger plan to help out the main six?
So in the end, Rainbow Dash makes the right decision, and encourages Soren to do the same, an awful lot like Coco in Rarity Takes Manhattan. Spitfire admits to her fault, like she did in Wonderbolt Academy, the Ponyville team qualifies, and we get a happy ending. With that, I think it's time for our final thoughts on the episode. Since you guys lost the race over here, I think it's only fair that you go first.
Overall, this episode felt a bit too much like a retread of old ground, with the focus on Rainbow wanting to be a great flyer, but still not wanting to put her desire to train with the Wonderbolts ahead of her friends, that was already covered in Wonderbolts Academy, and Fluttershy not being a particularly strong flyer that was already covered in Hurricane Fluttershy. And if I'm honest, those episodes probably covered them better as well. There was a lot of dialogue from Twilight that felt a bit out of place, and a few moments that were nothing but exposition. I really don't get why they had to make Spitfire into such a jerk with her trying to manipulate Rainbow and lying to Soren. I would have preferred a more neutral resolution to Rainbow's dilemma, but I guess the decision she ended up making does make sense after the way Spitfire acted. The location of Rainbow Falls looks good, and it did help to get me more excited for the Equestria Games. But other than that, the story just felt a bit flat.
It's still not clear whether or not Rainbow Dash is going to join the Wonderbolts after this episode, and to be honest, I think she should join because maybe this is what the Wonderbolts are missing and Rainbow Dash is supposed to lead them instead of following them. Spitfire looks up to Rainbow Dash now, and even though Rainbow Dash is always eager to win, she still puts others in front of her own desires. This episode wasn't an improvement on Rainbow Dash's character, but just a reminder of her character, so I would give this episode a 7 out of 10.
This episode feels a lot like Wonderbolt Academy 2, which I think is great because Wonderbolt Academy was a great episode. I'm glad that we're getting more characterization for the Wonderbolts, and I like how, as Rainbow Dash gets to know the Wonderbolts more, she starts to see that they're not the perfect heroes that she once thought them to be. Rainbow Dash is starting to lose her idolization of the Wonderbolts and preference of her friends. This is textbook character growth, and I love it. I also love this ongoing thing with the Rainbow Shimmery stuff.
Well, it seems we're still split on this episode, so what do you say we have another race to settle this?
Alright, you're on.
Let's do this.
Now, Cam, we can't have you cheating again.
Cheating? Who? Me? You guys are jerks.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hey, get back here!